Should I get closer? Should we see what different lighting aspects look like? Maybe I'll do it from this lens this time. Might be fun. I'm still under this very beautiful tree in my, essentially what is my backyard, and the privilege of being my backyard. I think this lighting is just, I almost said a bad word, is being all messed up, but that's okay. I'm gonna roll with it. Oof. So in the last video we talked about fire and the element of fire and how that might show up in our lives, but in this one I want to talk about earth. And what a better place to do that, surrounded by earth. And earth as an element, it's so beautiful, y'all. It's what we eat, it's what we walk on, it's what's built the homes that we live in, the roofs over our heads for thousands of years. This earth has supported us, with the help of other elements. But I think that's usually what we see, even just looking around me, like, it's so entrancing. And I think that's a good, lead into what earth means. And it's the foundation of stability and manifestation. Think about the earth and the ground that we walk on is a foundation of stability that allows us to manifest and turn, more, thoughts and dreams into matter, which is manifestation, being able to change our energy in our thought process and spellcast that into matter, like true magicians. So the zodiac signs that are associated with Earth are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. The scientific parallel in nature, Earth represents solid matter, crystalline structures and minerals. The Earth provides a physical foundation for all other elements. It absorbs water, it contains air pockets like lava rocks, and I'm sure other things as well. And it, is transformed by fire, and that's something that I touched on a little bit in my last video when we talked about fire and that relationship to Earth, and how you'll see, fire and Earth created beautiful islands like Hawaii, and without that we wouldn't have had these, thousands of years of cultural knowledge being shared with us as a human race. And I think it's a beautiful thing. Paired with that energy of transformation, of the transformational thing like fire, that in and of itself is a manifestation. Manifestation is transformation of energy into matter. So yes, Earth in the astrological houses, an example would be people with Earth in the second house. What you might see is sort of financial acuteness and the ability to manifest. Well, I won't say that, because we'll keep it general. I think everybody does, but in astrology it might show you where exactly your money is going to be coming in based off of your 10th house and your second house, and the relationship between those two things. But with Earth in the second house, why I mention it here is because, where's my phone? It doesn't matter. Traditionally, in the houses, the first house starts at Aries, and then what's the sign after Aries? It's Taurus. And traditionally, Taurus is kind of home in the second house, and that's why Taurus is also associated with financial gain and material wealth, and just having an eye for those things and what it might mean to that particular person. That doesn't necessarily mean that somebody is going to be, very flashy and very like gluttonous with things. I think that can be something sometimes wrongfully attributed. That's not to say that it won't show up for people, but let's think of things in a growth mindset and how it might push us to think more expansively about material wealth. I think something that people might not know is that somebody like Karl Marx, he was somebody that had a relationship with money where he was, he didn't come from money, but he married into money, and he was financially supported, and that gave him the time to think about money from a broader standpoint. I don't know where he had Taurus in his chart, in which house, but he was a Taurus sun. So I think that in and of itself can help people, break the barriers down in their mind that Taurus is this gluttonous sign, and we only care about, material things. Like, sure, we might like nice things, but nonetheless, as an earth sign, the overarching thing is stability. Think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, sort of thing. And from a minimalistic standpoint, of course, finances in this, modern lens of how we exchange, money for value, people value stability. When people are unstable from their own lens, they might not feel like their life is as valuable as they might want it to be, in whatever way that they see it. And that can be different for anybody. So yes, resource management is also applicable with people with Earth in the second house, and value oriented as well. And that looks different for other people. Maybe people might value, extreme gluttony and things like that. Other people might value minimalistic values of life, where they're living life from a lens where they're not over consuming, and they're able to see the value in minimal things, and they're able to see the value in managing those resources so that they can be redistributed in a quote-unquote proper way. But I think nonetheless is what this earth has taught it in its death and rebirth is that it's very abundant, and that those kinds of resources and finances and values they're all around us. It is never ending. It is, once again, going back to that God consciousness, ever expanding, and it is being experienced in a multitude of ways that is abundant through every person. There's God consciousness, good, bad, right, or wrong, all relative to the individual or the culture, how that should be experienced. Another thing with Earth in the astrological houses, another example would be people with Earth in the 6th house. What you might see here with the 6th house being attributed to matters of health, medicine. Let's see if I have further significations. We'll see if she's there we go. The 6th house, I don't like talking about that, but it is true. The 6th house is associated with illness, traditionally work, somebody's duties, and pets as well. So those are some light things. But again, that does tie back into my other, expansive things of like methodical work ethic, practical health approaches, service oriented would be a relationship of Earth in the 6th house. So I'm not somebody with Earth in the 6th house. I'm somebody that has air in the 6th house. So my approaches to health aren't from the practical lens. I see I see and experience health first through what my body is communicating to me, and also through what the surrounding areas, surrounding like air, surrounding areas, that's funny, are showing me and telling me. And I have Libra, an air sign that values intelligence and values research and intellectual understandings of health. So I did take in a lot of, opinions, but I always come back to sort of focused and balanced lens, like Libra with the scales, and of practical approaches that are more from a holistic lens. So compared to Earth, maybe if Taurus is in the 6th house, maybe you might see more practical health approaches. I'm somebody that kind of likes to take the impractical route to that. And sometimes that might look like, yes, me doing right and me having a growth mindset and me applying, my version of good, bad, right, or wrong. And then the other lens of that would be like the shadow work that I have to do of like learning the hard way sort of thing, especially because Libra has its exaltation in Saturn. So where you'll see that growth mindset of Libra in your chart is sometimes where you'll see boundaries and more of a very like realistic, still practical, actually, come to think of it. I take that back. I know it's an air sign, but I can be very practical with my health approaches. It's just impractical in the lens that it's not like what other people do. Like I don't subscribe to very indoctrinated versions of health. I like to incorporate many things into that. So method, yes, every earth sign has a method. Earth is very methodical, for sure. I have an earth moon, very methodical with my emotions, very methodical when it comes to my bodily practices. It always ties into something else. There's a realistic understanding, at least from my version of growth mindset. What I've come to is like, okay, this is, how is this impacting me? It's very practical. I do ask myself those questions for sure. Yeah, I think I'll move into Earth with the planets now and the relationship that it has to that. But before I do that, I'm going to take a little sip of water. I hope you guys are enjoying this so far. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying it. Like if you're enjoying it, subscribe if you want to see more. I'll be sure to link down below my other socials that are attributed to this, where I put things in a bit more condensed lens, like Instagram or Pinterest. And you'll also find other affiliate marketing links of people who have been in the game for decades, sharing this very esoteric, very awesome knowledge of astrology, and from their own, different perspectives as well. So yeah, do click those links below if you want to see more, because astrology is fun, honestly. That's what I enjoy about it the most. And that's why I like applying a growth mindset. Like, over time, when I first learned about growth mindset, it was in high school, and it blew my freaking mind. I was like, okay, all right. It was a little scary at first because I was somebody that was new to transformation and changing the energy of my thoughts in order to get a different outcome. So I was very new to manifestation. I was very new to transmutation and alchemy. And once I actually started practicing that, the results came in so quick, and honestly, they have stuck. They've kind of stuck for the most part. Yeah. So Earth with the planets, I'll start off with Earth and the moon. I kind of talked about it with myself, with my Virgo moon. But what that does, that relationship, it can, from a growth mindset, it creates this emotional security through tangible means and a lot of comfort in routine. So, every day since like early elementary school, like third grade, I would get up early. No alarm. Sometimes I would just get up early. And I've been doing that. Let's see, I'm 23 now. I was 9 in the third grade, so maybe I was doing it even younger than that, getting up early. So for most of my life, from what I can remember, I've been getting up early, and I found extreme comfort in that routine, being able to be very in tune with the cycles of the earth and the day. The sun rises, I'm up with the sunrise, and then I go down with the sunrise. It has been a little bit later because where I'm at in the Western Hemisphere, it's summertime in California especially. The sun is setting at like 8:30, and it's a little bit weird for me because I'm somebody that gets up early. So in order for me to go to bed early, especially tonight, I'm going to be in bed at 9 p.m. period. Even because once it's dusk, there's a very small period, especially during the summertime, of dusk. During the winter time, I feel like dusk lasts a little bit longer, but during the summertime, it's like sun, dusk, nighttime, like snap of your fingers. Like you have 30 minutes between 8:30 and 9 p.m. and then you have pitch black darkness until 5:30 a.m. 6 a.m. So yes, creates emotional security through tangible means. Maybe with a sign like Virgo that's associated with Mercury, you might see more of a like intellectual means behind that. If it's Taurus, which is actually Virgo's a feminine sign, so there's a bit more of a like intuitive nature with that, and you're able to just kind of feel things around. It's a lot easier that way sometimes, rather than being like, oh, I'm gonna write down this routine and I'm gonna do it this way and da, da, da. Even though I've done that before. I went through a period of like when I was a teenager, and this is probably what heightened that, watching like Get Ready With Me morning routines consistently and loving it. Like My Life as Eva type. I'm trying to think of other, Bethany Moda as well, those girlies on YouTube, that I was within their audience for sure, and practicing what they preach in regards to, getting up at 6 a.m., doing that thing. And I think what it does for earth signs is, again, it puts things in a very realistic lens. Sometimes earth signs might have a hard time when they're disconnected from their body and their needs and how they really want to do things. A little bit of inspiration is required, as opposed to a sign like Pisces. It's very easy for a Pisces sun maybe, or a Pisces moon, to put themselves in that realm of a sort of dreamlike state where they're going to be manifesting these things no brainer, like period. Absolutely. Like Piscean people got it down. Like it's amazing to see them go so deep into their subconscious and the belief as well. I think that's another reason why earth signs like the tangibility, is because it helps us reform our belief systems and our faith as well. So for me, in my relationship with God consciousness, it was very, very, very important, as somebody who's an earth moon and I think an earth sun, to practice that that alchemization of turning energy into matter. So no brainer. Now I do it. It happens very quickly. I was looking for a parking spot the other day with my niece and her mom, and it was a very crowded day, And, I let go. I released all of the anxiety and stress that I was feeling because I didn't want to miss what we were going to see. And I released the limiting beliefs. I asked God, I was like, please reveal a parking spot to us that will be easy, because we had a lot of things to carry and a baby with us. And we found a spot within 5 minutes after that. So putting that practice of alchemy and alchemization, of turning energy into matter, I think for earth signs especially, it will help strengthen your faith and in your belief in yourself to do certain things. Like, even examples as small as that is a steady reminder that it's possible, period. So Earth's relationship to Venus, moving into that, signs like Taurus, who's Venus ruled sign. What you'll see here is like an enhancement of appreciation and for sensory pleasures. So like a lot of gratitude. I know I'm a Virgo moon, and I'm pretty sure I'm a Taurus sun, but it's like even just like being around this earth, and like even if you feel, I might put up a picture as well, I don't know if there's a way to edit things, of like the energetics of a tree and what being by a tree will do for you and can do for you. Before I came here, I kind of very ungrounded energy, because there was a lot of noise, there was a lot of things happening within my house. So I just had to leave, and I'm like, okay, let's take this talk outside. And then you sit by a tree, and these are very esoteric beings that have been here for a while. Even if it took this one just, in the last century to grow, its seeds came from generations before it. So you have this very esoteric knowledge that you're able to tap into just by sitting next to a tree, which I think is very cool. So I think that is a good example of enhanced appreciation for sensory pleasures. I'm not just sitting by the tree. I'm not just sitting on the grass. I'm not just, underneath this, beautiful canopy and looking at the reflection of the light onto the leaves. I'm describing it in a way that you can feel my embodiment. No, you can feel how happy and at peace that I am, and it's very important to me that I'm in such a state to be able to share this esoteric knowledge with you, because I don't want it to come from a place of being ungrounded. I know I flow when I talk, but I built the riverbed before this. I grounded myself before this for it to move through. And that in and of itself is that relationship between the masculine and the feminine is another example of that polarity. Mina Irfan, thank you, God, for sending me that woman to my life, because she's changed my life in regards to the energetics of masculine and feminine. Doesn't matter what gender you are, however you operate, the energetics and polarity of the divine masculine and the divine feminine is within you, as we are scientifically proven, the descendants of space dust that was brought here to this ether millions of years ago. Another thing that you'll see with Earth and Venus is material beauty, loyal relationships, and I think from a growth mindset, again, keeping in mind what that higher level of consciousness, that God consciousness of the divine feminine and of the divine masculine, applying that to your relationships and being able to put yourself in an energy where that might inspire others to kind of match that. It makes those relationships worthwhile. I'll use myself as an example. It's like, before in the past, I would try and change matter with matter instead of just changing my energy and focusing on myself. Again, back to my point of like, we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. So if we can apply that law of detachment and focus on ourselves, like look at ourselves, look within, where am I in this situation that's causing me to get this kind of reaction from somebody? People are mirrors. Your relationships are mirrors with your mother, your father, your grandparents, your siblings, your pets. Like, those are all mirrored relationships, and whatever you're doing is going to incite a certain kind of reaction. And I've been able to put this in practice with my pets, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, cousins, my sister, my brother. And I think it's been a very eye-opening experience in regards to how energy can form matter. It's not matter that creates matter, it's energy. But I could get deeper into it, but maybe not for the sake of this. I'll move on next to Earth and Saturn, and then we'll go into other relationships of Earth with other elements. But Earth with Saturn is, you'll see significations of strengthened discipline, responsibility, and long-term planning abilities. So think of the sign of Capricorn. Very, very, very well known for being, when in growth mindset, a very responsible sign, led by responsibility. Even if that's not something that they had called in, if they had asked God for it, they were given an opportunity to enhance responsibility in their life, whether it be through, a switch in career, having kids, a change in family that might incite a push into growth mindset. I think that's something that Capricorn is always searching for. There is, from what I've noticed with most Capricorns, a need and a want to grow, and that's something that Saturn is attributed with. Saturn returns when, and it's nothing to fear, of course, especially when you're thinking about growth mindset. No matter what life throws at you, the good, bad, and the ugly, how can you transmute and alchemize the energy of that situation into an outcome that really matters to you, and that will bring you closer to the universe and divinity and to God. So I see that it's very present with Capricorn for sure. I'm thinking of the Capricorns in my past life and also in my current life. I absolutely see these attributes within them, and I think it's very beautiful to see their journey and their perspective, most importantly, of how they're strengthening their discipline, how they're strengthening their responsibility and long-term planning abilities from the lens of wanting to build a even more stable foundation for them and whoever else is in their life, whether it be family, community, loved ones, future people that might be coming into their lives. So yes, I think that's really awesome. And then lastly, I'll move into those elemental interactions like I did in the fire video, and talking about earth and water. How earth and water is complementary is that water nourishes the earth, and it fosters emotional stability and practical nurturing. So I'm trying to think of how it could be. I think that's just more of the elemental interaction. But, I think gardening is a perfect example. These plants can't grow, this grass isn't green, this tree doesn't continue if there aren't rainy seasons. I know where I'm in a sunny place in SoCal, so for some reason I think there's a unfortunate disconnect that people have with the earth, and I've definitely been there, but I was called to it, and always was called to it, being a being of this earth. Whether you like it or not, you're going to be on this journey of, sorry, that was a mosquito, I had to get that bitch. I was like, why am I scratching and itching? The mosquito got me. That's okay. I promise you I love the earth. But no, we don't do that. No, not over here. I have my limits. Earth and Saturn, limitations. Come on now. I think that's perfect. So yeah, gardening is a good example. Just the fact that this earth is able to continue, water is abundant, the earth and the plants that are underneath the actual ocean that are consistently sustained by the water of the ocean. The water around the lakes and the rivers, the river is not just where, and the lake is not just where it is, the container of earth that is around that lake and that a river, it has channels of nerves that attach to other plants or trees or leaves or vines that are in its vicinity, and even further, that spans across the whole earth. That's how you get, the best example I can think of is that I forget what season it was of Avatar, but it was definitely the Earth season, I think, of Avatar, where they go to the swamp, and then there's this big, the best way I can describe it is like this banyan tree, this very big banyan tree. And the beautiful thing about it was that it was so magnetic. That was a perfect example of how magnetic and how connected things are, and that when you're really tapped into that, everything is just magnetized. Like they felt this pull down into it. Kind of getting chills just thinking about it. So yes, that's an example of that. Emotional stability, yes. Say if you have like an earth moon, water is associated with the moon, like the tides of the ocean and things like that. If you have an earth moon like I do, if you apply growth mindset, you're going to be very into fostering emotional stability, not just for yourself, but for other people. I had somebody, I don't know if I should reveal this, but it's like, in the past, I've had people that were, screaming in my face, and I did nothing about it. I just looked at them. Or maybe I didn't look at them at all. And I fostered emotional stability within myself. Sure, some part of me was triggered, and I was like, yay, okay, something I get to work on more. I'm looking at a butterfly. Hi, butterfly. And what it did was it inspired them to foster emotional stability in the future of our relationship. So again, not seeing things as good, bad, right, or wrong, seeing it just is. It's a theory of relativity. What somebody else might see as wrong is different from what another person might see as wrong. So I think there's great beauty in being able to see another person's perspective, even if they're screaming at you in their face. Take some. What can you learn from that about them and yourself, especially because those things are going to be mirrored within you, your relationships. So yeah, it just is. I just like, as an Earth Moon, I don't have the. There's no need to get triggered. There's no need to act on the triggeredness. I'm not saying that there's no need to get triggered, because I think that I'm still in that state of like fostering that emotional stability. Like emotional control is very much yes. I think I'm winning, honey. I'm winning in regards to that growth mindset. I'm doing fabulous. It's awesome, and consistently getting better. But it's like sometimes you can't stop the triggers. Those triggers are going to continuously be coming back at you, especially as life continues to throw certain things at you. You're going to want to come back to center. You're going to want to come back to center, and you're going to want to come back to Zen and reground yourself and get to the root of that trigger and how you can move forward from that. You can't always it's just a way of like fostering that that bounce into the next thing. You need that inertia. You need that stability in order to propel that inertia. You need that stability in order to propel the the action. So yeah. Earth and air, moving on, is I guess, challenging. But we talked about challenging being good. We talked about challenging being good in the last one. So the relationship with that is that air erodes earth. Think of like, mountains on a beach, or cliffs by a beach. When the wind is really windy, I've seen it live, how the wind is like eroding. It's very, whether it be a small breeze or not, it does have its role in eroding the earth, and by means transforming that, and it creates this relationship between earth and air. It's a balancing effect. From a growth mindset, see it as a balancing effect between ideas and practical implementation. I'll say that again. See it as a way to encourage you to balance ideas and practical implementation. I think that's a very good way of thinking that, of seeing that, for sure. I'm getting kind of tired of talking, so I'm going to end it here and then go replenish myself. Not here, but I have one more thing to say about fire and earth. It's complementary, fire and earth, this relationship. Fire transforms earth. I talked about this before in the fire video. I stand by my example of the magnificent volcanoes creating a beautiful land masses like the islands of Hawaii. It's jaw-dropping. Like, you don't even have to physically go to that island to know, especially if you're tapped into the earth and these kinds of things. It's just so beautiful when you're there. Even when you see a picture of it, that energy of transformation and that resonance of transformation, it not only like reveals its complementary nature, it complements you as well. It kind of makes you want to transform yourself. It really does. And it helps you to manifest the passion into tangible results. The passion coming from fire, the tangibility coming from earth, something that you can touch. So, the passion of the volcano and the relationship between fire and water created something that was tangible and beautiful and long lasting as well, is the hope. And it allows for other things on top of that: people, animals, plants, other cellular natures, atomical natures, to just exist and to be. Again, God's consciousness in effect, and in full effect. And it's beautiful to see how you can understand that from an elemental nature. It's not something that's out of reach. It's something that is omniscient, and that's close as like this atom that I just pulled from the air, sort of thing. It's definitely all around us, this energy. So I hope that this helped expand the understanding of how these elemental relationships in astrology mirror these natural cycles within the earth and within you. If give this video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're looking forward to see more. Thank you for joining me, Umbrielle, your conduit of the cosmos here at Conscientious Cosmos. And yes, enjoy your beautiful day, night, life, wherever you are. God bless you guys, and until next time.